There's a hidden cost in some Kelowna condos that buyers never see coming. It's not the strata fee, it's not the property tax. It's a number that can show up out of nowhere and add tens of thousands of dollars to the price that you paid for that unit. It's called a special assessment, and to some buyers, it's the difference between a smart purchase and a financial mistake that you're stuck with. I'm Mark with KelownaCondos.ca. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what a special assessment actually is, how to spot the warning signs in the strata documents before you remove conditions, and the negotiating strategy that lets you push back the costs of that special assessment onto the seller instead of having to pay it yourself. First, the basics. What is a special assessment and why low monthly strata fees might sometimes be a warning sign instead of a benefit? A special assessment is a one-time extra charge that the strata condo owners pay when the building needs money for a specific project that the contingency reserve fund doesn't have enough money to cover. It can be a one-time lump sum if the amount is small enough that owners can pay for it. But for some of the larger projects, the strata will usually arrange a loan spread over 3 to 5 years to make the costs manageable. And no, this is not just the strata council that decides to send a bill to everybody. Special assessments or levies, they have to be voted on at the AGM or a special general meeting. Every owner gets a vote, and it often needs 3/4 of the votes to pass. If it does pass, every owner has to pay their share, whether they voted for it or not. Now, the Contingency Reserve Fund is the building's savings account. Every month, a portion of those strata fees go into it. When the roof needs to be replaced or the building needs new windows, that's where the money is supposed to come from. If there are unexpected projects that come up and the money hasn't been allocated, owners are going to have to fund it through a special assessment. Now, here's where buyers get tripped up. Low strata fees feel like a win. You see a building with strata fees at $250 a month, and then you see another one at $450 a month. The cheaper one, it looks like the smarter buy. In some cases, it is. But often, those low fees mean that the building isn't putting enough money into the contingency reserve fund. And numbers don't lie. If the savings account isn't being topped up properly, a special assessment is coming. A common example in Kelowna is Poly B plumbing. A lot of buildings from the late 80s and 90s, they were built with Poly B piping. And it has been known to fail, so a lot of insurance companies, they stopped insuring units and buildings that had Poly B. Most of these buildings have already replaced it, or they're in the process of replacing it right now. And the bills are significant. $10,000, $15,000 per unit isn't unusual, depending on the size of the building. If you were in a 55 plus townhome, this expense, it would have fallen on you to fix. And it's often easier to fix though, because you'll have a crawl space, so a plumber can just get underneath there, replace all the piping, easy peasy. But it's still an expense, and you still want to watch out for it. Now, Poly B is a known issue, so if you're buying today, it shouldn't be a surprise. But sometimes the assessments that hurt are the ones that nobody saw coming. I know of a building in Kelowna where the owners were hit with a special assessment of almost $300,000 a unit. Now, this building was built in the early 80s, and the assessment funded basically a full overhaul. Roof, siding, windows. To be honest, it's a very, very nice building now. And I'm pretty sure that the values have gone up more than the cost of the special assessment. The point here, it isn't that special assessments are bad. People buy homes that need renovations all the time. The point, though, is to know what you're buying before you buy it. That knowledge, it starts with the depreciation report. Every strata in BC is required to have a depreciation report. It's a document that's going to be put together by a qualified person, as per their legislation. Usually it's going to be an engineer or an accredited appraisal. They're going to map out every major component of the building, how long those components have left, and roughly what it'll cost to replace. They also are going to include inflation, because we all know that the price today, it isn't going to be the price tomorrow. Now, the roof might need to be replaced in 8 years at a cost of $400K. Maybe the HVAC and the boiler, they might be at the end of their life, and they might need to be replaced before they leave the building without heat or hot water. So when you put that timeline next to the contingency reserve fund balance, you can see exactly where the gaps are. Let's say they save $200,000, but there's $1 million of work coming up in the next few years. That math doesn't work. You got to know a special assessment is coming. It's only a question of when and how much. Here's a pro tip. Let's say that there are 100 units and there's a $1 million bill coming. Well, you divide those 100 units by $1 million and you're going to get $10,000 a unit. Now remember, this is just basic. And of course, if you're in a larger unit, you're going to pay more. If you have a smaller unit, you're going to pay less. The other documents I read are the strata minutes. I start with the annual general meeting minutes and then special general meeting minutes, and then I go through the monthly meeting minutes. The meeting minutes are where the truth lives. You'll see quotes coming in from contractors. You'll see the votes. The votes will tell you if the owners are arguing about whether to fund a project now or push it down the road. The average buyer, they just look at the current reserve fund balance and think that the building is healthy. The smart buyer reads the meeting minutes and understands how the building is being managed and if they're financially responsible. So let's say you've done the work. You've read the depreciation report, you've read the minutes, you see that the building has a $9,000 special assessment coming for new windows. What do? Walk away? Not necessarily. There's a way to handle this where you protect yourself and you don't pay a dime out of pocket. The first thing to do is understand whether this assessment has been approved or not. If the owners have already voted on it and they approve the assessment, the contracts that I write, they make the seller responsible for paying any assessment that's been approved before the sale closes. Not due before the sale closes, just approved before the sale closes. So if the project's being discussed, but it hasn't yet been voted on, you don't have that automatic protection. So the conversation in the meeting minutes is a warning, but legally, the cost is going to fall onto whoever owns the unit when that vote happens. That's where negotiations come in. There are two ways that I do this with my buyers. The first is a holdback at the lawyer's office. So we negotiate prior to the subject removal that the seller leaves the estimated cost of the assessment in trust with their lawyer. That way, when the assessment hits, the lawyer already has the money and the money comes out of the lawyer's trust account to pay for it. You don't need to write a check because the money's already there. The second is a price reduction. We negotiate the price down for the amount of the potential assessment. So let's say the windows are going to cost you around $9,000. Well, we ask the seller to reduce the purchase price by $9,000. Now, this sounds like the same thing, but it's not. If you're getting a mortgage, dropping the purchase price by $9,000, it doesn't put $9,000 in your pocket. Your monthly payment's going to be a little bit lower, so you're going to have to pay some interest over the life of the mortgage. But when the assessment bill arrives, you're going to have to cut a check for $9,000 to pay for it. That's why I usually prefer the holdback method when the project is close and the cost is going to be significant. The seller's money, it sits in trust. The bill gets paid without coming out of your pocket. Every assessment is completely different. So we want to make sure that your lawyer is involved in structuring the holdback to protect you and to ensure that the seller pays for it. One thing to note though, is that the seller doesn't have to agree to the holdback. If it's a highly desirable property and they have other people waiting to buy it, or maybe they just don't want to renegotiate. If this happens, you're going to have to decide if taking that a special assessment on is worth it. The bigger picture, having to pay for new windows or a new roof isn't necessarily a bad thing. Whether you're buying a house or a condo, homes need work. But unlike a house where you're able to get a home inspection looking at those things, buying a condo, you need to rely on the strata documents so that you're not surprised by these upcoming expenses. If you bought a house thinking that everything was perfect and you didn't do a home inspection, then all of a sudden the roof needs to be done in a year, you would be surprised. Maybe you don't have the money, maybe you do, but both are going to hurt. Here's where this leaves you. A special assessment isn't automatically a reason to panic. It means that a project is coming up that needs to be paid for. When you know it's coming, you can price it into the negotiation, or you can negotiate it out, or you can just walk away with your eyes open. The buyers that get hurt are the ones that didn't read the strata documents carefully. They might have skipped the depreciation report and the minutes. Maybe they fell in love with the unit and they bought it strictly on emotion. Don't be that buyer. So before you buy a condo in Kelowna, don't just look at the listing price, the kitchen finishes, or the monthly strata fees. Look at the financial health of the building itself, because one overlooked document can completely change the true cost of your home ownership. If you're looking at buying a condo in Kelowna and you want help reviewing the strata documents, just reach out. You'll find all my details, including a booking link for my calendar, in the description below. I'll help you identify the risks that some buyers miss before they become expensive surprises. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe, because I'll be breaking down more condo buying mistakes, negotiating strategies, and hidden costs that most people never hear about it until it's too late. What was the biggest question you have about strata documents? Let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to reply. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.